Kimani, and today I wanted to talk about Esther. We all know, I don't know if you all know Esther, but there's a book in the Bible called Esther. I would encourage you to go and read. It's the story of a young woman who is orphaned, grows up with her uncle, and then at one point the king calls, says the contestants, women to go. He's looking for a wife because of something that had happened, and then Esther wins favor with the king because she's really beautiful. And now when the Bible says you're beautiful, you are definitely beautiful. And I want to intertwine her story with our destinies. We all have a desire for destiny. We all have a desire to bring a solution to this world, right? And most often we are caught up in the tension in between, okay, I have this desire, and when will that desire actually come to pass? So what happens in the story of Esther is that she grows up, of course, with her uncle Mordecai. She goes, wins favor with the king, becomes the queen, and a few things happen. And one time, there was this official who was working with the king who plots to kill the Jews. Now, Esther was a Jew. That means that her entire community or tribe of Israel was in exile, right, at that moment. So the official plots to kill all the Jews, and so Mordecai, her uncle, sends her a message and says, hey, Haman is trying to kill all of us, you have to do something about it. And so Esther sends back a message to him and says, wait a minute, I can't do anything about it because the king has not called me for a while, and if you go to the king, if the king has not called you and he doesn't hand you the scepter, what happens is that you are killed. So she's like, okay, I hear you, but there's a but. And so Mordecai sends a message back to her, and the message says, don't you think that because you're in the palace, that when this happens, that you will be saved? And he also tells her that, let me tell you, even if you do not rise up, relief will come from another place, but your family will have been murdered probably. And then he continues ahead to say, who knows but that you are in the palace for such a time as this. And that becomes an awakening statement to Esther. So when that message reaches her, she sends another message to Mordecai, and she tells him, okay, go into fasting for 3 days for me together with the entire community. I will do the same here. I will go to the king, and if I perish, I perish. Right? No, that statement becomes a deal breaker. And this is why it's a deal breaker. Esther becomes very much willing, all of a sudden, to lose her entire life for her people. And this is why, number one, she understands that yes, for such a time as this, I am in this palace. The things don't just happen. For how many of us do we feel like most of life happens at us? We're like, oh, like Esther, she'll be like, oh, I'm just an orphan, brought up by my uncle, things happened, now I'm already the queen. Like for her, it was just things happening with her, right, and happening to her, but then she never realized that God would have actually used her process of becoming to get her there, right, such that God choosing to send relief at that particular time to the Jews was not just a one-time thingy, but God somehow had ordered in that by the time they were calling all these women, only one woman stood out. I know she was beautiful, but this is just to show us that God is in our process of becoming. Most often we live our lives waiting for something to happen later on. We wait for this big opportunity to come, and then we'll change the world. We wait to win the Nobel Peace Prize. We wait to do whatever. We wait for when the funding will come for us to start a particular project. And we miss out that every single day, where we are born, where we study, who we become, God is interested in those particular details. And destiny doesn't just happen one day. Destiny is a gradual occurrence that happens in our lives even as we move. So this is just to call us to a place of taking note of who we are becoming, right? When we go to campus, why do most people in campus waste their lives? Because They're not thinking that what they're doing in that particular moment will actually affect who they become after campus. So I'm just thinking, oh, this is just 4 years for me to do whatever, and then I'll go get a job. Then you don't realize that the rhythm that you create in between even your younger years will also affect you even in your older years. Because this is to call all of us to, first of all, appreciate the process of becoming, and let us not see life as things just happening at us and to us. But if we could learn to look beyond what's happening at the moment, if you learn even to ask God, okay, God, for such a time as this, what's my such a time as this? For Esther, it was relief for the Jews. We continue with the story. She did go ahead, go to the king. She won favor with the king. The Jews were saved. I mean, that was for such a time as this for her. But it looks different for us in every season. So it's also an invitation for you wherever you are. What is your for such a time as this? Right? What's your process of becoming? What are the things that burn in your heart? What are the things that need some launching? Which things do you need to say, if I perish too? Right? Because solution will come from a place of us now stopping to look at ourselves, but now looking beyond ourselves. Right? Solution comes when we lay down our lives for a greater purpose. Esther did the same for her people. We see Jesus on the cross. He laid down his life. You know, at the garden when he was weeping, he said what? He said, not my will, but yours be done. He literally laid his life to a point of death. Esther was willing to do the same. She was like, if I perish, I perish. We have to get to a place of looking beyond ourselves, looking beyond our backgrounds. Some of us are so stuck with the mistakes we have made, with maybe even past glories of what we have achieved. Some of us are so stuck with the mistakes we have made, with maybe even past glories of what we have been able to achieve. Some of us are even very stuck with where we come from, right? And all of these things. But God is calling us to look beyond ourselves, right? Solution will come when we look beyond ourselves and when we understand that real solution is not convenient, right? Sometimes we think that if it's easy, then it's God. If it's not easy, then it's not of God. But clearly the word is showing us that solution that works for a longer time, that lasts for a long time, is not convenient. That's why we see that it's, and if I perish, I perish. There's a cost to pay. And the cost for these two people we're looking at is their life. What is your cost? Could be, we can look at it. But then even as you look at the cost, I would invite you to get to a place of saying yes to paying that cost, because that's the only way that real solution will come, right? We have to say yes to the cost of even just giving our lives to Jesus, living out the cultures of the kingdom. If we are to end corruption in our nations in this continent, we have to say yes to the cost of integrity, right? Being people who have integrity, being people who carry faith, being people who are compassionate towards others. Sometimes it's a burden to be compassionate, because it means that you will have to care, right? Sometimes it's saying yes to the cost of moving from thoughts to ideas to concepts, because some of us have really good ideas and good thoughts, but then we need to bring them to paper now and actually have a plan for them, right? So change is very inconvenient and real solution is inconvenient, but it is needed. So I hope you get motivated by the life of Esther. I hope you get motivated by the life of Jesus. I hope you say yes to paying the cost. I hope you say yes to laying down your life for the solution that God is calling you into. And I hope that every single day you will see that God is in your process